Dan Senor was a senior advisor to the Romney-Ryan presidential campaign in 2012. Dan, good morning.
Good to be with you.
So help us understand the factions within the White House arguing for different point of view, not only the Secretary of State and the UN ambassador.
Well, there's one camp, which is led by the Secretary of State, that believes that ISIS should be the sole focus and that nothing good can come from us trying to replace Assad, because it's not clear that the chaos that would follow the fall of Assad would be much better, that there could be a vacuum that bad actors could fill.
Who's in that faction?
Well, it's primarily Tillerson, and many people believe Trump himself. There are others, like Nikki Haley, who believe that we cannot ultimately bring any resolution to the region if we are not focused both on ISIS and defeating Assad, because Assad's attacks against the Sunnis are creating recruits, are provoking ISIS to act.
Where's McMaster's?
McMaster is trying to synthesize the two. I mean, I think there's a general consensus among all these factions that it's hard to imagine a future quasi-peaceful Syria with Assad in charge. That they all basically agree on. But I think Tillerson believes we cannot do this. We cannot be the ones to remove Syria. If other forces so we cannot remove Assad. If other forces try to remove Assad, that's fine. And I think McMaster and others are a little more forward-leaning. They think that we could help facilitate a process that could get rid of Assad.
What is clear is that any way to deal with Assad will have to involve Russia.
Right.
And the Secretary of State is making the first big high-ranking visit to Moscow tomorrow. The question is, will he meet, should he meet with President Putin after yesterday calling them complicit or incompetent?
Yeah, so look, from my view, the Tillerson should get a meeting with the president of Russia. In fact, in previous administrations, the Secretary of State, when they've arrived in Moscow, have gotten meetings with Putin. But to your point, he's used very aggressive language, and that, Russia may want to make a statement here and just keep it a Lavrov-Tillerson meeting. But what is most interesting to me here is we were all led to believe that the Trump administration was going to roll over for this new relationship, this new grand bargain with Russia. And what is clear now is, in a matter of weeks, it looks nothing like that.
We do have two additional elements. I read this morning that the Russians have said that he is meeting with the Secretary of State to emphasize that he's unlikely to meet with President Putin. Secondly, we have the Russians and the Iranians now threatening to respond with force.
Right, because this is, look, they believe that the U.S. action in Syria, which was limited. Keep in mind, this was such a limited operation. This was basically an operation that was on the shelf during the Obama administration, that people like Secretary Kerry had been pushing President Obama to pursue. It was very limited. No Syrian officials were killed. There was not a direct attack on the regime. And that mere action is provoking a lot of rhetoric.
Dan, to that end, that airfield is now back open.
Right.
What did that strike accomplish?
I think at the end of the day, it did two things. One, it will make the Syrian regime think long and hard about using that airfield or any airfield to, exercise the machinery of chemical weapons attacks. I think they will think long and hard. I think this could be a turning point in that regard. I do not think we will see. Yes, I think because they don't know how far he's willing to go. There's about 6 or 8 other airfields like it in Syria, and it is very easy for the U.S. to systematically take them out. The U.S. government has the capacity to escalate. The Syrians know that, the Russians know that, and the Iranians know that. Donald Trump, if anything, is unpredictable, and they don't want to play with fire here.
Dan Senor, thank you.
Good to be with you guys.